My humble obeisances to all of you Vaishnavas. I feel genuinely grateful and deeply happy that we have this opportunity to continue entering the ocean of Chaitanya Charitamrita together. So last week we opened the doorway. Today we step further in. Last week we tasted the sweetness of the invitation. Today we begin to understand the architecture of mercy behind the invitation. Because that is what Chaitanya Charitamrita does. It doesn't merely tell us a story. It doesn't merely give us theology, philosophy. It does not merely offer poetry. It takes us by the hand and leads us from philosophical clarity to spiritual intimacy. It teaches us not only who Mahaprabhu is, but why his appearance changes everything. It's a game changer. And this is important for us as practicing devotees, because if we try to run only on sentiment, sooner or later our devotion becomes thin. But if we go deeply into tattva, if we understand who Mahaprabhu is and why he came, who all the great personalities came with him, and what gift he carries, then what happens? Our chanting changes, our hearing changes, our worship changes, even our identity changes. When someone says Jai Gaura Bhaktivinoda, we see ourselves as the circle of Gaura Bhaktivinoda, the circle of devotees of Gaura. That's our true identity. We stop being just casual observers of Gaur Leela and begin becoming participants in Mahaprabhu's eternal flow of mercy. So today, let's pray for two things. Let us pray for intelligence so that we can understand the philosophy. And let us pray for softness of heart so that the philosophy does not remain in the head alone. Right? Because the goal is not to become spiritually informed. The goal is to become spiritually transformed. So with that mood, let's begin session 2 of CC Compact. Philosophy and Tattva. The invocation section, the divine foundation that makes the rest of Chaitanya Charitamrita blaze with meaning. Just a quick recap before we move forward. I want to bring us back into the current of last week's session. Let's not treat these classes like disconnected talks. This is one flowing river, and every session should deepen what came before. So let us remember, what is a demon and why is Gauranga so important for us? We discussed that an asura, the demon, is not merely some mythological villain. In one sense, an asura is one who remains absorbed in selfish sense enjoyment. And unless we get a higher taste, unless we actually taste something spiritually sweeter than this bland material life, then even after hearing philosophy, we can still be dragged back toward these lower desires. That is why Gauranga is everything for this age, this is Kali Yuga. He gives us the higher taste through the holy name. We also discussed Vedic, Vaishnava, and Gaudiya. Remember those three levels? And under the broad umbrella of Sanatan Dharma, there are many currents. But as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we stand in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we drink the essence of Bhagavad Gita, which is Sanatan Dharma, Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Vaishnavism, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Right? And we discussed the connection between these three books, right? The Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Gita gives a philosophical foundation. Bhagavatam gives the personality and pastimes of Lord Krishna. And Chaitanya Charitamrita gives us entrance into the inner purpose, the devotional mood, and the heart of Krishna himself. We also saw why Chaitanya Charitamrita is such a special biography. It contains tattva, the siddhanta, the philosophy, and rasa. What is that? The breadth and intimacy of both philosophy and the nectar, the sweetness. And finally, we remembered the four essential teachings. Love is the goal. Krishna is the object of that love. The gopis are the highest example of that love. And the Bhagavatam is the handbook for attaining that love. So now with the foundation fresh in our minds, let's go deeper. So we'll briefly review this slide again. It's a lot of material on one slide. We showed it last week, and it's a good practice to just keep reviewing it so that we know where we are on the overall roadmap. So we see that Chaitanya Charitamrita is split into three books, Adi, Madhya, and Antya. You can see those names on the left over here. And each of those books have four sections or four focuses. So the Adi Lila, we start with invocation, then incarnation, education, and transformation. Then he takes sannyas at the end of Adi Lila. Then we talk about renunciation, propagation when he goes to preach, aspiration where his cherished goal is to reach Vrindavan, and then organization where he systematically educates his great followers, Rupa and Sanatan. And then appreciation as Antya Lila, where he returns to Jagannath Puri. Correction, where he makes sure we avoid certain pitfalls. And then he absorbs himself into the intoxication of pure love of God. And he ends with the Lord Chaitanya's Shikshashtakam, which he wrote himself. And that's under his final instructions. So that's how the whole book is structured. So today we are going to enter the invocation portion of Adi Lila. And this is significant because the life story of Mahaprabhu does not begin immediately with birth and with the childhood pastimes. If that's what you're expecting, you'll be a little bit surprised. First comes invocation. First comes philosophical orientation. First comes the sacred framing. That itself is a lesson for us. In spiritual life, intimacy must rest on clarity. Before the heart can fully relish, the intelligence must be properly aligned. Before we enter the sweetness, we are taught how to stand before the sweetness. So in the introduction, which is chapter 1, this is one of the great principles of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Tattva before rasa. Tattva means truth, reality, ontology, the actual structure of what is, what exists. And rasa means relationship, relish, devotional flavor, the mellows of love, spiritual intimacy. And Kaviraj Goswami, the author, is extremely careful. He knows that if we enter the intimate sections without proper philosophical grounding, then instead of becoming elevated, we will very likely become sentimental confused, or superficial. So the analogy given is Lord Ram is like a green mango. Krishna is like a dark, mischievous mango. But Gauranga is like the fully ripened golden mango, dripping with sweetness. Yet even that sweetness must be approached properly. If we have no understanding, we may look at the fruit and not know what we are holding. So Kaviraj Goswami almost warns us, don't be lazy with the philosophy. Don't think, I'll just skip to the sweet parts. Because see, philosophy does not obstruct rasa. It strengthens the mind so the heart can safely enter the deep devotional emotions. Then we come to this called Mangalacharan. In every authentic spiritual beginning, there are three movements: the objective, the benediction, and obeisances. So we have this objective, which is the goal, Ashirvad, benedictions, and Namaskar, obeisances. So we define where we're going, where are we headed, the destination. And then we beg for mercy. Can't just, anybody is not just allowed, you have to beg. And we bow, we offer obeisances, Namaskar, to those who make the journey possible. This is not ritualistic formalism. This is spiritual sanity. This is spiritual culture. Now we come to one of the most important verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's called the Paribhasha Sutra, the emperor verse, the governing revelation. Anarpita charim chirat karunayavatirna kalau samarpayutamunnattvajjala rasam swabhakti shriyam hari purata sundara dyuti kadamba sandipita sada hridaya kandare spuratu Shachinandana. This verse tells us what the entire book really is about. It's a blessing. It says, may the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Shachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart, resplendent with the radiance of molten gold. He has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before. The most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. Notice something very beautiful. The prayer is not merely that we understand him intellectually. The prayer is that he manifests in the innermost chamber of the heart. You know, we have outer chambers, things that we sort of love are important. And this innermost, the heart of hearts. And the blessing here is that may he be in that chamber. This is extraordinary. The goal of study is not just information. The goal is inner enthronement. You put Mahaprabhu in the throne of your heart of hearts. That Gauranga becomes luminous within us. This verse also reveals the shocking generosity of Mahaprabhu. Karunaya Vartirna. He's the Karuna avatar. He's the merciful incarnation of generosity, of mercy itself. Many incarnations establish dharma, right? Dharma samsthapanarthaya, he says in the Gita. Establish dharma. Many incarnations protect devotees. Many punish the wicked, just kills them completely, like Nrsimhadev came out and just ripped apart Hiranyakashipu. But here, Kaviraj Goswami says, Mahaprabhu gives what was not previously offered in this way. The hidden treasure becomes public mercy. So if someone asks, why read Chaitanya Charitamrita? The answer is because this book does not just narrate Mahaprabhu, it installs Mahaprabhu in the heart. That's why this is called Paribhasha Sutra. Paribhasha means the overarching language of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So when you open the book, you see the first 14 verses are like seeds. It's a Mangala Acharan. So Kaviraj Goswami first gives a compressed revelation. Then he unfolds it chapter by chapter. He offers general obeisances. Then he proves Mahaprabhu's divinity. Then he explains the external reasons for the advent. The external reasons is chapter 3. Then the internal reasons is chapter 4. Then Nityananda Prabhu, then Advaita Acharya, and then the Panchatattva. This is brilliant theological architecture. It means the opening of Chaitanya Charitamrita is not random. It is carefully built so that by the time the narrative opens up, our understanding is already prepared. So I would tell the audience, because sometimes, it's hard to go through these names. You want to kind of go straight to the story. But I would say be patient with the opening chapters. If you rush through them thinking, when do the stories start? You'll miss the power of the text. Go slowly through them. These chapters are not a delay mechanism. They are consecration. We're making a sacred space in our heart, and we're understanding what's going on. So proving Chaitanya's divinity, chapter 2. There are 3 aspects of the absolute truth, right? And we know of the 3 aspects, Bhagwan is supreme, and Sri Chaitanya is Bhagwan. Now, how do we know Sri Chaitanya is Bhagwan? Kaviraj Goswami is not casual here. He doesn't ask us to blindly accept. He presents a robust framework. This is a nice acronym called SAFE, S-A-F-E. It's easy to memorize. A safe incarnation. What does safe incarnation mean? S stands for scripture. A true avatar must be predicted and supported in scripture. And there are many, many references across the scriptures that predicted Mahaprabhu's appearance thousands of years before he came. That's one. Second, astrology and attributes. There are bodily marks, there are signs, there are characteristics of a great divine personality. Mahaprabhu had all of them. The stars under which he was born are incredibly rare. Then, of course, we follow our acharyas, the great teachers, the recognized teachers. They confirm, oh yeah, this is an incarnation. And then finally, is extraordinary activities. God is not God merely by claiming to be God, but by, impossible potencies and the transformative impact he has when he comes. And then comes the deepest point. What is Mahaprabhu's greatest miracle? Not just signs, not just scriptural citations, not just bodily attributes. Of course, all that is there. His greatest miracle is love. The love he embodies, the love he awakens, the love he distributes. He changes hearts. He makes impossible people into absolute saints. He turns logic into longing. He turns ritual into relationship. He turns sound into ecstasy. So yes, he is Channa avatar, the hidden incarnation. But hidden doesn't mean absent. Hidden means he's covered for a reason. Covered so he can come close. Covered so he can teach by example. Covered so mercy can move among ordinary people without overwhelming them. That's why he comes in disguise. That is his magnificent mercy. Now, chapters 3 and 4, why Mahaprabhu appears. This is one of the most thrilling sections in this whole introductory portion, because here the heart of his divine purpose begins to open. Externally, Mahaprabhu comes to please his devotee, paritranaya sadhanam, especially Advaita Acharya, whose cries shook the universe. He comes to establish this Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan. He comes to throw open access to Prema Bhakti. Yeah, even that is an external reason to give us access. But internally, the purpose is even more astonishing. This is like, why, what, Krishna, like, what's in it for me? Of course, established Dharma and all that, but I want to get something out of it too. He comes to taste. He wants to taste what only Radharani tastes perfectly. He wants to know the glory of her love, the sweetness she experiences in him, and the happiness she derives from loving him. This is where the theology becomes breathtaking. I mean, if you sit and reflect about it, it's amazing. God doesn't merely want to be loved. He wants to understand the love of his topmost devotee from her side. That is radical. That is intimate beyond measure. That's the secret heart of Gaudiya theology. To relish the sweetness. So Krishna decides, I will come. Mahaprabhu's appearance solves two crises at once. The crisis of the universe, which needs to be saved, of course, and the crisis of divine longing, which seeks tasting from the side of the devotee. And because he comes as his own devotee, he teaches not just what to practice, but how to feel. So Raganuga, Raganuga Bhakti. Now, chapters 5 through 7, he talks about Panchatattva. When the Lord appears, he never appears alone, never. Divinity comes with its full relational environment. The Lord, his expansions, his avatar forms, his internal energy, and his pure devotees are all present. And that is why Panchatattva is so important. It's not just 5 historical figures standing in a sacred photograph. It's the full theology and ecology of divine descent. Mahaprabhu is in the center. Then to his right, which is on our left, is Nityananda Prabhu in blue, and then Advaita Acharya in white. And then Gadadhar, the other side, and Srivas. Together they create not merely a movement, but a spiritual explosion. If Krishna is the sun, then the Panchatattva is like the full dawn breaking across the horizon. Each personality reveals another dimension of his mercy. Nityananda Prabhu. Who is Nityananda Prabhu? Nityananda Prabhu is Baladev, the original expansion, the Adi Guru, the original Guru. If Mahaprabhu is the golden moon of divine love, then Nityananda Prabhu is the flood of mercy that pushes that moonlight into the darkest alleys. He's called Prema Ashraya, the shelter of prema, shelter of love. Why? Because he does not stand at the gate asking who is qualified. He runs onto the street asking who has still not yet received Mahaprabhu's mercy. See the difference? Some say Mahaprabhu is most merciful. Yes. But then we learn that Nityananda Prabhu is even more accessible in his giving. That is why the story of Meena Ketan Ramdas matters so much. It shows the gravity of offenses to the devotees and the seriousness of our relationship to Nityananda. Kaviraj Goswami's own journey is transformed through this connection. So, briefly, I can just say, Meena Ketan Ramdas was a great devotee of Nityananda Prabhu. Not just a devotee, he was fully absorbed, almost intoxicated with love for Nityananda Prabhu. Whenever he went anywhere, he would chant loudly. Sometimes he would laugh, he would cry, he would roar like a lion. People didn't always understand him. But those with some spiritual vision, they knew this is not madness, this is prema. So one day, Meena Ketan Ramdas came to the home of a devotee. Everyone there offered him respect. They honored him as a great Vaishnava. But there was one person in that house. This is the brother of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami himself. He didn't show proper respect. Why? Because internally he had a subtle doubt. I accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but I'm not so sure about Nityananda Prabhu. And Meena Ketan Ramdas sensed this. He's like, he's very sensitive. Pure devotees, they can feel the heart. And he became disturbed. He said, you accept Lord Chaitanya, but you don't accept Lord Nityananda? And he gave a powerful warning. He said, it's like accepting half a hen. You keep the part that gives the eggs and reject the face. You can't divide the absolute truth, he said. So in divine anger, he became upset and left. That moment was not ordinary. It was a spiritual turning point. And that night, Nityananda Prabhu appeared in a dream to Krishnadas Kaviraj and instructed him, leave this place, go to Vrindavan. And this led to the writing of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Nityananda is not different from Chaitanya. You can't say, I accept Krishna, but not Balaram. You can't say, I accept Chaitanya, but not Nityananda. They are one absolute truth. So even though there was tension, Nityananda Prabhu still gave mercy. And that mercy produced one of the greatest spiritual books ever written. So if we try to approach Krishna while neglecting his devotees, especially Nityananda Prabhu, we block the very doorway through which mercy flows. Nityananda Prabhu is Adi Guru. And without Guru Tattva, there's no access to Krishna. So we have to be careful. He is known as Bhakta Swarupakam. He's the expansion of the devotee. And his identity is, of course, Balram. He is Bhagavan, but he's Sevak Bhagwan. He is the Lord, but he's the servant Lord. See? Servitor Godhead. Very interesting. Then you go to Advaita Acharya. He's Bhakta Avatar, incarnation of devotee. Advaita Acharya should be understood with gravity. He's not merely another associate. He's one of the great causes of the Lord's descent into visible history. He is a combination of Mahavishnu and Sadashiv in identity. You can imagine Vishnu and Shiva together, He sees the degradation of the age. He feels the pain of the world. He cannot tolerate the spiritual emptiness. So he worships with Ganga water and Tulsi leaves and cries out to the Lord, please come. This is one of the most moving ideas in this entire theology. The world changed because a devotee could not bear the suffering of others and cried hard enough to summon God. Advaita Acharya also represents regulated worship, Pancharatrika Vidhi Ashraya. This is important for us. In this yuga, the dharma is chanting, of course, but deity worship, discipline, regulation, order, reverence still nourish the life of devotion. That's why we still do all those things. Advaita Acharya reminds us that heartfelt prayer and proper practice are not enemies. They work together, hand in hand. Then coming to Gadadhar Pandit, he is known as Bhakta Shaktikam, the devotional energy. Of course, intimate inner identities. He is Srimati Radharani himself. Yet the mood here is not the same expressive intensity of Raja that we might expect. It's more subdued, more grave, more inward. Some acharyas explain it as a softer, restrained current of Radharani's love. Gadadhar is the constant companion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's something moving about that. Others come and go in different ways, different times through the Leela, but Gadadhar remains. His presence is constant. It communicates fidelity, quiet sorrow, intimate companionship, and deep bhav. So if Nityananda Prabhu feels like he's overflowing mercy, Gadadhar feels like concealed emotion, sacred sensitivity, and the depth of heart. These are the facets of this gem. Through him, one develops fine spiritual sentiments. He doesn't shout his gift, he transmits it gently. Then we come to Srivas Thakur, Bhaktakhyam, the pure devotee, identified with Narad Muni. He represents Shuddha Nama Ashraya, shelter in pure chanting. And this is so powerful because the Sankirtan movement did not begin as an institutional project. It began in a house. Yes. In intimate kirtans, in sacred nights charged with tears, song, surrender, spiritual courage. Those of us who have houses, we can get inspired by this and have small gatherings and fill the house with tears and song and surrender. Srivas's home became the womb of the Sankirtan revolution. That matters. It reminds us that the world transformation begins in places of sincerity. A room filled with genuine chanting can change history. His home became a portal because he gave it completely to Mahaprabhu. We who have homes, whether you bought it or rented, it doesn't matter. If you have a home, practically everyone does. You want to give it completely to Mahaprabhu. And this is how you do it. You have sincere gatherings, simple gatherings. Focus on kirtan. Focus on understanding Mahaprabhu. Start small. That's how the world gets transformed. One home at a time. Now we see the full force of Panchatattva together. Not isolated greatness, but coordinated mercy. They broke open the storehouse of divine love. They tasted it. Then they distributed it without any material calculations. They didn't have any concern for caste or qualification or social prestige or past contaminations or external identity. Whoever came within the reach of that mercy became a candidate. That is why this was a spiritual revolution. Not merely because many, many people joined, no. And not merely because Kirtan spread. It was revolutionary because inaccessible spiritual wealth became open-handedly available, as much as you want. The treasure house was not gently unlocked, it was broken open. The dam burst and the flood came. The holy name entered the streets, the homes, hearts, and histories of the world. And by the mercy of Prabhupada, it continues to do so today. Think about how Prabhupada started so small in 26 Second Avenue, a tiny little storefront. If you've ever visited, it's actually really small. You're like, wow, this massive movement came from this little space. And this year we're celebrating 60 years, 1966 to 2026. It's 60 years since Prabhupada brought this flow of flooded nectars, continued flooding it into New York and the rest of the world from there. So we're lucky we get to participate in the extended cut of Chaitanya Charitamrita every time we enter Kirtan in Prabhupada's line, and we do it with a pure heart. We are continuing the Chaitanya Charitamrita Leela. Okay, so let us see if we are following the invocation properly. Maybe I can ask if anyone wants to volunteer to answer these questions. Are you listening? What three aspects are usually found in the Mangalacharan? You remember? Raise your hand. Yes, please go ahead, Meenakshi.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I take notes, so I'm cheating a little bit. But I've got Mangalacharana objective, the goal, benediction,
yes,
Asirvada, I pronounce it. Ashirvada. Ashirvada. Yeah.
Ashirvad, yes.
Ashirvad. Obeisances, Namaskar.
Namaskar. Wonderful. Excellent. Thank you very much. Great. It's good to take notes, by the way. It means, you're serious about what you want to learn. What is the Paribhasha Sutra of Chaitanya Charitamrita? What is the main points of that? You remember? See participants. Yes, Kirti Dasundari Mata, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev, Dandavat Pranam. I can remember one thing that you said, that it is a hidden treasure and it becomes revealed.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Very good. Yes, hidden treasure becomes revealed. It's a blessing that may he be in your heart of hearts. Sada Hridaya Kandare. Thank you very much. Yes. Great. What are the four aspects, the tattvas, which always accompany the Lord? You remember?
The safe one.
No, this
safe.
is no. Safe is different. That's the next question. Okay. The next question is, how do you know who is safe incarnation? But prior to that, what are the four tattvas? And if you add Mahaprabhu, it'll become 5 tattvas. That should be a clue.
Advaitacharya.
That's right. Yes.
Nityananda. Prabhu.
Yes.
Shivasa, something.
Yes.
And what's the other one?
Gadadhar, that's correct. Yes.
Gadadhar, sorry.
Yes. Very good. Very good. Awesome. Okay, so now coming to SAFE, how do you know who is a SAFE? What does SAFE stand for? SAFE.
Acharyas,
Let's start with S.
scripture,
Scripture, correct. Okay, then
A for
Acharya,
astrology, and
astrology.
S is
astrology.
for follow the acharya, and E is for like extraordinary activities.
Extraordinary.
Incarnation.
Yes, yes. So these makes it SAFE incarnation. Very good, very good. Then what are the external reasons for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance?
There are two reasons,
Give
eternally and externally.
externally to give love, unconditional love.
Paritrana is Adhunath.
To please his devotees,
Right, and
to establish Yuga Dharma and access Prema Bhakti is
And
external.
very good, very good.
Great prema bhakti to everyone.
Mhm.
Okay, and then what are the internal reasons?
To experience the mood of the devotee, Radharani, and happiness, and understand her happiness in her devotion.
Excellent, excellent, perfect. All of you have been listening very carefully. This is wonderful. Thank you. This is very encouraging to know that there are devotees listening and they're just not signed on and doing something else. This is good. Thank you so much. Very, very good. Okay. Now we will go to, where will we? We're in slide number 17. Now we come to a very personal and moving section. Chapter 8. How Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami came to write Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is one of those sections that reveals how sacred literature is born through mercy, humility, and crisis. So we heard a little bit story of Miniketan Ramdas. He's offended in the home environment connected to Kaviraj Goswami. Kaviraj Goswami becomes deeply disturbed. He understands the gravity of offense. Then in a dream, Nityananda Prabhu appears and gives him a direct instructions. Go to Vrindavan. That one instruction changes everything. Notice the lesson. Great destiny in bhakti often begins with obedience to a single divine instruction. Then in Vrindavan, through the will of the Vaishnavas. Okay, Kusuma Mataji is saying that my voice is not clear. Okay, let me try that. Is that the general consensus? I'm going to see if I can turn up the volume a bit. Then it gets too loud. Is that okay? A little better? Okay. Thank you. Okay, it's clear for most devotees. So good. So then in Vrindavan, he goes to Vrindavan, and through the will of the Vaishnavas, and he gets a confirmation from the deity's garland, the order comes. Write the book. And in old age, with great humility, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes one of the most important theological and devotional works in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So Chaitanya Charitamrita is not merely authored. It is commissioned by the mercy of the Lord. See? He got this garland from the deity. And then he, in his very, very senior years, he started writing. Now we move on to the other chapters, 9 through 12. And here, he builds an image for us. The image of Bhakti Kalpataru. the desire tree of devotion is stunning. Mahaprabhu is the gardener, the trunk, the life force, and the source of the fruit. The branches are the devotees and their followers. And the tree expands across time and geography. It gives shade to the world. It feeds the world. And the fruits are not meant to be hoarded. That is the point. Spiritual inheritance, by its very nature, is missionary. It's meant to be shared. If the fruit reaches us, it must pass through us. We have to give it. So we have to understand that our lineage is the disciplic succession, the great family in which we find ourselves in, this family of Mahaprabhu, is not a bureaucracy. It's a living organic transmission. The mercy doesn't stop with one generation. It branches, it blossoms, it continues very beautifully. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Now let me pause here for a moment. Because at this stage, it's very natural to feel this is a lot. So many names, so many concepts, so many layers. And that's exactly why this slide here, this is the family tree, is so important. Because what we're seeing here is not complication or complexity, but it's orientation. When you enter a vast and sacred universe, sacred landscape, you need a map. You need a compass. You need landmarks. Otherwise, you may walk a long distance and still you get lost. You not know where you are. Chaitanya Charitamrita is vast. It's not just a simple story that you read from beginning to end. It's philosophy. It is poetry. It is theology. It is relationship. It is rasa. It is history. All these woven together. So what Kaviraj Goswami is doing in these opening chapters is an act of great mercy. He's giving us the map before the journey begins. We start getting familiar with these names. He says, before you enter the sweetness, let me first help you understand the structure of what you are about to enter. And that changes everything. Because without structure, we may hear everything, but understand very little. So instead of feeling overwhelmed, we can shift our mindset. We can think, I'm now being equipped. Every concept we are hearing is tattva, panchatattva, mangalacharan, paribhasha sutra. These are not just Sanskrit terms. They are keys. Keys that will unlock deeper and deeper levels of meaning as we move forward. So this is not heavy. This is empowering. Clarity at the beginning saves confusion later. So if you have the family tree with you, if you have the book, I strongly urge you to get the book, the CC Compact. It's a beautifully printed book. It's a small book. It has this nice fold-out Chaitanya Charitamrita family tree. Here you can see, of course, the family tree here is not about who married whom. It's a devotional tree. So on the top, you see Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri has these disciples, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and Ishwar Puri. Now, Ishwar Puri is the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the central figure, of course, of the whole book. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed others like Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami. And then down the line, all the other Goswamis you see, Like then Gadadhar Pandit, disciple of Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Yadanandana Acharya is disciple of Advaita Acharya. And Raghunath Das Goswami is one of the 6 Goswamis. So Gopal Bhatt, Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Jeev Goswami. So these are the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. It's very beautifully laid out. See, you'll become familiar with these names very quickly as the story progresses. It's good to know how they're laid out. See? And then Jeev Goswami's 3 main Shiksha disciples, Narottam Das Thakur, you've heard his name, Srinivas Acharya, Shyamanand Pandit. And in Narottam Das Thakur's line, many great teachers come. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan. Our own Prabhupada comes in that line. So you can see the lineage here. It's very beautiful. It's not that heavy. Once you start getting used to the names, you start seeing who they are, you start learning their stories. Yes. So this family tree, if you want to see it, Meenakshi Mataji has very kindly shared it. It's hard to see it on the slides here, like, on Zoom. It's just the resolution doesn't cut it. But you can use the link. It's in the chat. cccompact.keshavaswami.com, and appendix CC family tree. You'll see it there. Definitely look at it. Okay, now we have a couple of slides that kind of give you some timeline where you can compare. So 3000 BC. 3000 BC was about the time when Lord Krishna leaves and the Vedas are compiled. So 3000 BC means about 5,000 years ago. That's when Kali Yuga started. Kali Yuga started roughly 3000 BC. Then there's a decline of tradition. On the right side, you can see the other world religions as they appeared in history. So Judaism appeared in 2500 BC, a little bit later after, Vyasadeva wrote the Puranas and all that. Then 500 BC, we have Lord Buddha appearing, and he comes to reject the Vedas, and he gives a philosophy of no God, no focusing on God. He does that primarily to save the animals. Okay. Then we come to 0 AD. Of course, that's when Lord Jesus Christ was born. That's Christianity was founded. And then about 500 years or so later, Islam was founded. On the Vedic side, the Alvars in South India, the great saints, they're teaching in this period. Then, around 700 AD, Shankaracharya, he re-established the Vedas, but he used a similar Buddhistic kind of philosophy to re-establish Vedas. And he came up with this impersonal theory for a specific purpose. Then in 1000 AD, Ramanujacharya, he established the personalism. He detected it. He detected that this impersonalism is not good. We have to establish personalism, that Krishna is the person to be worshipped. And Madhvacharya taught more philosophy around that there's dualism, that we're different from Krishna. We're not exactly Krishna. We're not God. There too. Then in 1400s, we have Sikhism making its appearance. Around that same time, 1486, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears, and he harmonized the oneness and difference, that we are the same as God, but we're also not God. We're same as God in many ways, but we're also not exactly God. How is that possible? That's inconceivable. And so that's called Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Inconceivably one and different. So now let's take a pause. And let's step back. Something significant has happened. We have not yet entered deeply into the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but already everything essential has been given. We know now who he is, not just a saint, not just a teacher, but the supreme personality of Godhead is God himself, appearing in the mood of his own devotee. We now know why he has come. Externally, to establish Sankirtan, to spread the chanting of the holy name, to give access to divine love, but internally, to experience the love of Srimati Radharani. Right? So we know who is Mahaprabhu. Why does he come? also with whom. We know with whom he comes. He doesn't come alone. He comes with Nityananda Prabhu, the Advaita Acharya with Gadadhar, Pandit with Srivas Acharya. Each one bringing a dimension of mercy, of devotion, of structure, of feeling, of community. And we know now how this knowledge comes to us through the humility, surrender, and service of great souls like Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So now the stage is set. What is this meant to do to us? Because this is not just information. It's not just philosophy. This is an invitation. It's an invitation to chant more deeply, to hear more attentively, to serve more sincerely, to be inspired, to soften our heart. And in this age of Kali, when everything feels uncertain, when happiness feels temporary, when even meaning feels fragile, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives something. He gives something absolute. He gives the holy name. Holy name is solid. And through that holy name, he opens the door to the highest reality, divine love. He doesn't restrict it. He doesn't hide it. He doesn't make it difficult. He makes it accessible. He makes it shareable. He makes it available to all of us. So we'll pause over here. Thank you very much. At this point, I'll briefly bring the session into a practical landing, of course. If you'd like to continue studying, stay connected, access resources, these details are here to support you. Please go to schoolofbhakti.com. But more than just logistics, take this as an invitation. Don't let today remain something you heard just once. Take a next step. Revisit the slides. Open the Chaitanya Charitamrita book itself. Read even a little. Discuss it. You have this book. It's online for free. Read it. There's no excuse. Carry one insight into your japa, into your reading, into your worship, into your preaching, into your meditation. The sacred study bears the most fruit when it becomes regular. Even a small, consistent connection with these teachings, can transform your spiritual life. So, of course, it's not an ending point. It's just the beginning. So, as we close today's class, let's reflect on this. Much of life is spent searching for meaning, searching for belonging, clarity, and love. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu does something quite extraordinary. He does not answer that search with just doctrine, with just philosophy. He answers it with himself, offering the highest treasure, love of God, freely to everybody. That's why we're reading Chaitanya Charitamrita. It matters not just to become informed, but to become illumined. As we hear more and more, our practice, our identity, our purpose begins to align. So may Mahaprabhu and his devotees bless us. This becomes remembrance. This reading is remembered by our hearts. And remembrance turns into taste. And taste becomes service. And service awakens love. So thank you very much for joining. Thank you for your kind attention and your valuable time. Hare Krishna. So we have a few minutes to have some interactions. If you like, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free. Hare Krishna. We have Snehal Prabhu, who's technically hosting. We have Shilen Prabhu, who is also here to host. So they can coordinate.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for your wonderful, wonderful class.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, may I? I have a question. Did Mahaprabhu, by giving us a very simple approach to build a loving relationship simply through chanting, is there a tendency for us to not to accept these simplistic approaches and go for the more difficult approaches of what Krishna's gave us in the Bhagavad Gita?
So you're asking, let me see if I can understand your question. Is there a tendency for us to kind of reject the simple solution, which is chanting? We might think, oh, this is a little too simple. How can it be this simple? Is that your question? And we try to
That's right.
And try to make it a little more complex, because our life is complex. Our solution cannot be simple.
This is a complex approach to Bhagavad Gita, for instance, yes.
Yeah. So
the tendency.
Yeah, Bhagavad Gita is not complex either, by the way. Bhagavad Gita also offers a very simple solution. He says, Satatam kirtayantam. Surrender unto me and just do my kirtan. So it's the same solution that Bhagavad Gita offers. Of course, Bhagavad Gita discusses, the complexities of our life and how we're conditioned in 3 modes. But the solution is just as simple. It's the same solution. So there's no difference between Bhagavad Gita and Chaitanya Charitamrita when it comes to the solution. Now, there's often a tendency in our conditioned life to underestimate the power of simple spiritual practices. The mind usually equates value with complexity. If it's complex, then it's valuable. If it's simple, then it can't be valuable. If something is profound, we assume that it has to be difficult, it has to be intellectual, it has to be rare, esoteric, only a few people can understand it. So when we hear, Prabhu, just chant sincerely, part of us resists that because we have the stereotypical notion. It feels too simple. Our false ego wants something more impressive, something more complicated, something more in our control, something that we can master, but other people can't master so easily. There are a few reasons for this. Simplicity humbles us. We are very proud of our intelligence, but chanting doesn't flatter our intelligence, our status, our sophistication. It puts everybody at the same level in the ground. The great statesman or the prime minister, he sits on the floor and chants Hare Krishna. And then the street sweeper, he also sits on the same temple floor and chants Hare Krishna. And the great philosopher, the poet, the movie star, and the singer, they all sit together and chant Hare Krishna. Puts everybody the same plane. And we don't like that because we want to be, sophisticated. Second, we are conditioned by a culture. It's a material culture that prizes novelty. It prizes technique, visible great achievements. And chanting can sometimes, to the observer, casual observer, can seem too ordinary. One, because it doesn't produce always immediate dramatic external results, and we want to see things quickly, right? That's another reason why we not excited about it sometimes. Third, simple doesn't mean easy. Chanting is conceptually simple, but to do it attentively, prayerfully, consistently, it's not easy. Try it. We've been chanting, many of the devotees here have been chanting for years. Can we do it attentively, prayerfully, consistently, with feeling? Mantra after mantra, minute after minute.
Without committing offenses, yes.
Yeah, it's not easy. So it requires sincerity, it requires patience, it requires surrender. That inner work is also very deep. That's sophisticated. But to the external observer, it seems too simple for me. This is too easy. Fourth point. We often want a process that lets us remain in control of the output. But chanting, what it does, it softens the heart gradually. And that can feel vulnerable. And we don't want to feel vulnerable. The mind looks for alternatives, a fake kind of security. We don't want to expose our inner vulnerability, but our vulnerability is our strength. See, it's not within our control what our heart is going to do when it's soft. But the heart, only when it's soft can it receive the mercy of the Lord. So yes, there is a tendency to not fully trust simple approaches like chanting. But that tendency itself is often a symptom of our immaturity. Those who are progressive devotees, those who are advanced devotees, they usually appreciate simplicity more, not less. You can see their lives become simpler. They understand that the deepest truths are often the most accessible, and that God has made the essential process very mercifully straightforward. Very kind of him. So the problem is not that chanting is too simple. The problem is that our hearts are too complicated. All right, Prabhu? So yes, that's a great point. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for clarification.
Yes. Okay, Gayatri, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I don't know if my question is, very significant, but this is the question which is in my mind for a while. So as a full-time working householder, there are a lot of responsibilities, duties that we have to do. Yes, we wake up early to do our sadhana, but these reading needs time, I feel. And is there a certain point in time where you say, right, now I really need to slow down. I need to cut my days. I need to, is there a number on that age? Is there a time to cut down? Otherwise, the wheel of life is continuous. We retire, then we have to look after our children's children. And how are we to get out of that bondage? That's my question one. And the second question is association of devotees. Yes, it's really nice. There are many lovely devotees, but sometimes I find, Prabhuji, that some devotees are not, not, what is the word to say? They're different. Sometimes non-devotees are really nice in terms of not materialistic, but from the heart. They'll talk and listen. So how do we wade through that? Is it enough to read the scriptures and listen to Prabhupada's Vani and lectures? Is that enough? So these are my questions. I'm sorry if they're irrelevant or not good questions, but yeah.
Well, thank you, Gayatri. These are great questions. And they are very practical questions because all of us face them, isn't it? As you're busy, I'm sure you're a working professional, right? Do you work in the professional world? And you have a family as well, I assume, and you have a house to maintain. And I assume you also eat. I think most human beings eat. So you have to cook and clean, All of us have to do all these things and earn money. What point in our life do we consciously decide that I cannot leave my spiritual life to chance anymore? For a busy householder, that moment may not look particularly dramatic. It may just be a simply sober inner recognition. You don't have to do something dramatic. Okay, now I'm giving up my job. I'm moving out of my house, and kids, you can decide what you want to do in your life. Don't talk to me anymore. We're not doing something like that, right? We're not going to be dramatic like that. It'll be more like simple inner recognition. I've given so much thought to my career, to my family, to my finances, to my reputation, to my responsibilities. We have to recognize, if I do not now deliberately give time to hearing and reading and chanting deeply for my soul, I need this, then the most important dimension of my life will remain neglected. See, people find time to do what they really crave. Even busy householders or whatever, they find time to play golf. If golf is their passion, they'll make time. They'll reprioritize other things. They'll get their other things done. but they will manage to put in 10 hours of golf a week somehow. And they do it, and it's fine. And we appreciate, wow, wonderful. Yeah, you've got enthusiasm for life. You got a life. It's not that difficult. We just want to make excuses because we're conditioned. There's a yearning, the heart wants it. We are pulled toward it, but not strongly enough to make that jump. That's what we want to do. We want to take the activation energy to be intense enough to make that jump. In one sense, that point should come now, whatever one's age, whether you are 75 years old or 15 years old. Your age doesn't matter because the soul is thirsting for this. It has to come now, whatever your age. Not because you must suddenly abandon duties. And you don't need to wait for a moment where you can abandon duties, because you can never abandon your duties. It's never going to happen. That time is never going to come. Because you'll always have duties. Even when your kids grow up and they get married and go away, you will always have some duties. Spiritual seriousness cannot be postponed indefinitely. Material responsibilities do not end on their own. They'll never. If we wait for a perfectly free season of life, it'll never come. At the same time, our seriousness does mature in stages. In your youth, you may read a little. In middle life, you feel the burden and complexity of the world more deeply. Later on, you begin to see more clearly that your achievements, your possessions, social roles, they just don't satisfy the soul. Everybody's prioritizing, oh, come on, you should do this. How can you not be? If you have potential to earn 10 million pounds, why are you satisfied with just earning 100,000 pounds? What's wrong with you? And we get caught in that. See? And that doesn't satisfy the soul. So then reading, hearing, and chanting, when you start doing it, they stop feeling like extra items. They're not extra hobbies. They start feeling like oxygen that you've been gasping for. And that's when your life turns. Oxygen is not a hobby. It's a very life. So a thoughtful householder can say, look, I may not have the amount of time of a sannyasi, renunciant, but I must have the seriousness of a sannyasi. I must. So that seriousness means not reading only when it's convenient, not treating this chanting and reading as optional, not leaving your consciousness entirely at the mercy of work pressure and family pressure, because that's obviously so important. It's important. But we can't leave it at the mercy of that. We have to take hold of our life. The real turning point comes when you understand the three things. Always three things, right? One is that life is uncertain. Understand that. It can end anytime. We do not know how long we have. How many friends do you know whose family members, maybe your own family, just suddenly, oh my God, he was so young. He's only in his 40s, only his 30s. She's only 20 something. And within 1 week, she's gone. Wow. That's soberness. We have to know that. That's the first point. Second point is that when we repeat spiritual things, when you chant repeatedly, when you read repeatedly, impressions deepen with repetition. Whether it's non-spiritual or spiritual, doesn't matter. The impressions deepen. So the cumulative effect of material impressions will also be on our head. So what we hear daily, what we focus on daily, shapes what we become. Do we want to be shaped by random YouTube videos and Netflix? No. We don't want to be shaped by that content. That content is not created for devotees. Most of it is not. That's an important turning point too. How is it that we find time for Netflix, but we complain they have no time for chanting and hearing? And the third point is that just by getting older doesn't mean you'll become very spiritual automatically. Spiritual strength doesn't automatically appear in old age. It's built gradually by layers of hearing now. When we think of our grandmas and grandpas, Some of us are fortunate enough to have grandmas who are very deeply spiritual. We have impressions of that. So we may think, okay, when I become a grandma, I'll automatically become like my grandma and chant all the time. No. My grandma used to chant all the time because she did it even when she was young. But we didn't see her when she was young. So we think just by getting older, it's going to happen automatically. It's not going to happen automatically. When we understand these three things, we'll start taking things serious. Nobody has to tell us what to do. Your own heart will pull you in the right direction. You see? When we are young, we may think spiritual life can wait. But when we mature, we realize it cannot wait. See? So yes, there is a point in life when we should decide to read more seriously. But the wisest answer is that that point should be as early as possible. Because I'm telling you, when you look back, even after practicing for years, you're like, I wish I would started a little bit earlier. You will. It's true. And that's a good feeling. I wish I started. I feel that too. I started chanting 16 rounds and said, oh my God, I wish I'd started like 4 years before. It would have been so much. I would have been such a better devotee. Like my wife, I would have been so much more rooted if I chanted just 4 years earlier. You know, I had the opportunity. Anyway, whatever. I started late in life, so I wasted 4 years. You know, I started chanting 16 rounds. I remember very clearly. I took up, it was February, or I think it was January, yeah, of 1991. And to pick up my beads, I'm going to chant 16 rounds from now. And I started that day. And now I think I wish I had started in 1986. Because I would have had an opportunity back then too. But in 1991, I was 14 years old. And I feel still that was too late. So my point is that it's good to feel that, oh, I started too late. It's good to have that sense of remorse. But start now. Look back on your life. This is very important. You don't need to ask other people when you're just gasping for oxygen. Your soul needs to connect with Krishna. Now, you had a second question. I'm going to jump really quickly into that one about devotees. Sometimes the person identified as a devotee may behave in ways that may feel insensitive. Is that right? I think that's what you're referring to. You're not the first one who've come across this, all right? Maybe they can be insensitive, they can be proud, they can be political, they can be harsh, they can be immature, any of these things, right? And the devotee, they got tilak, they got the whole thing going. And sometimes a non-devotee may appear very kind, very balanced, very respectful, genuinely pleasant, just such a joy to hang out with. And we should not and cannot pretend otherwise. You can't pretend all devotees are like this and all non-devotees are jerks. No, that's not the point. A healthy way is to distinguish between the philosophy, the process, and the practitioner at a given stage. There's a book called Nectar of Instruction. Are you familiar with that book?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very important book. It's a very thin little book, only 11 verses. In that book, it tells you about different grades of devotee. You know, Kanishta, Madhyam, Uttama, first class, second class, and lowest class, different categories, and how to approach them, how to process when they do weird things, how to process it, how to respect them, how to keep your distance. It's all there. None of this is new stuff. It's been written by acharyas long time ago. They've seen it too. We see it too. Just because someone has neck beads and tilak doesn't mean they're going to be fantastic in their behavior. It's just the nature of the world. And then we look in a mirror. We have to look in the mirror ourselves. See, am I fantastic in my behavior? I don't even care about other people. Am I mature all the time? Am I kind all the time? Am I really sweet all the time? Maybe I don't need to be sweet sometimes, but when it's needed, which is most of the time, am I? So that's for us to work on. The process of bhakti is perfect. Krishna is perfect. The holy name is perfect. But practitioners are in progress, work in progress. Most of us have come to devotional life not because we're already pure, but because we are impure and we need purification. So sometimes what you're seeing is not the failure of bhakti. It's just the unfinished condition of a person practicing bhakti. See, we're all cleaning the mirror of our mind. Cheta darpana majanam. You can't be like, oh, that guy's mirror is awful. My goodness, how can you even see? No, just focus on your mirror, you know. It's like, how can you be in the mirror cleaning club if your mirror is so awful? Well, that's why I'm in the mirror cleaning club, because it's disgusting. Help me out here, cut me some slack. You see. So also, another thing to consider is nice and spiritually advanced. These are not identical categories. A non-devotee may have excellent manners, emotional intelligence, generosity, humility, from good upbringing, natural goodness. And then he'll just go and put on his apron and cut the throat of a screaming calf. Not all butchers are mean when they speak. Some of them are very refined. Right? So, yes, we respect the good qualities because somehow by the samskaras they got good qualities. But we should never become sectarian and think because someone is not outwardly a devotee, their good qualities are meaningless. They're not meaningless. They have meaning. At the same time, a devotee may be sincerely trying to serve Krishna while still carrying deep things that they need to process. Cultural roughness, just the way, insecurity, trauma. Trauma informs ambition, which comes out of insecurity. Poor interpersonal habits. It's not how to talk, they're awkward or just say bad words at the wrong time. Doesn't excuse bad behavior, but at least we can explain it. I'm not saying this is how it's excusable. So first, don't allow the immaturity of some devotees to make you cynical about the practice of Krishna consciousness itself. Find devotees who will inspire you and spend more time with them. Also, another thing, don't artificially glorify bad behavior just because it's coming from a devotee. That's maturity. That's sad. We have to be mature about these things ourselves. Third, appreciate goodness wherever you see it, even if it's a butcher, fine. If it's kind, truthful, caring, appreciate good qualities. They're good qualities. Nothing wrong. Fourth, understand that external sweetness alone is not the full measure of spiritual attainment. But it's also not irrelevant. Sometimes you see devotees become sweeter and sweeter. You see? And more pleasant to be around. So that can also happen. So main thing is take the lesson personally. I should not be preoccupied with judging who is better. I should make sure my own devotional life is actually making me a better person. Is my anger gone down? Am I less irritable? Last year, this thing could have irritated the heck out of me. Right now, I smile at it. You see, a devotee is not great merely because they wear the tilak. A devotee is becoming great to the degree that bhakti is softening and purifying the heart. So that's how I would offer you some different facets and approaching it as we become more mature. Right? Thank you very much. I see there's some questions in the chat area. Let's see. Great questions, Gayatri Mataji. I think someone else had a question there. They raised their hand, but now it looks like they put it down. I don't recall who that was.
Jasumati Mataji. It was Jasumati Mataji.
Yes, Jasumati Mataji. Please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. With regards to chanting and children, as you said, start from a very young age. Now, say if you have a younger child, very young child or grandchild, whatever age, how do you encourage them?
Yeah.
To start, number one. Number two, if they do chant 1 or 2 rounds, just because the elderly is chanting, so they get their inspiration, but the parents are okay with it, but they're not encouraging them.
Yeah.
Right. So they're chanting 1 or 2 rounds and they're okay with it. Parents are okay with it. You know, they're happy, but they're not kind of encouraging them to remind them to, you know, chant, or because, you know, kids play, they forget. And unless you say, have you done a chant? Oh yeah, I'll do it now, kind of thing. But the parents don't kind of do that sometimes. So how would you process that?
No, so when it comes to family dynamics, things can get complicated, especially if the parents and grandparents are not on the same page. Right. So that's you already know that, right? Jasumati Mataji. It's important. Children are our future. It's extremely valuable for their benefit to take up spiritual life at a young age, especially when they start feeling the taste of it. One thing is that I also have a child myself. Try to raise him in Krishna consciousness. I learned a lot of things raising children. Teach us more than we can teach them, actually. He's not so little anymore. He's 23 years old. He's a big boy. His name is Madhav. But I learned a lot how to teach a child just by seeing what works, what doesn't work. But the key thing I realized, children do not listen to what you say. Don't expect them. But they watch carefully what you do. See? So, and not just what you do for show, because they can sense that you're trying to show. They can sense hypocrisy. They're actually very sensitive. Even though they're playing with their Legos and whatever, they see from the side of the eye. They know you're talking about them. They know what, okay, you're actually sincere, or that you're trying very hard, or that, you're just doing it when they're here, and when they're not here, you're doing something else. They can sense everything. Children are very advanced. God has given them these antennas. So the best solution is for us to be genuinely having a strong taste ourselves and feeling happy in our chanting. And then you bring them, you chant with them. Come, let's chant together. And just how sweet it is. First, before we chant, we have to sit up straight, like Prabhupada said. Okay, like if you do those kind of things, but very gently and smilingly, and you explain that now when we chant, Krishna is personally coming on our tongue. He's invisible, but that's how it works. And let's smile for him because he's coming. Let's welcome him. Those kind of things, not just a ritualistic. We tend to make our spiritual life as a ritualistic thing. It'll be good for you if you do this. We must do it every day. That's also a good point, but there's another dimension that why are we doing it? Why do we enjoy it from day one? Why is it so sweet and why is it so nourishing? If we are not feeling it, they will not feel it. And then they will stop doing it as soon as they get opportunity to stop doing it. So now as a grandparent, we will try to give them what we can. We can try to encourage our children to be also good parents in that sense. And ideally, if we can come together as a whole family and chant together one round. That may not be possible. Maybe the parents not interested. That's okay. But if they're interested, once in a week even you do, or once in a blue moon you do as a group, it shows that parents are on the page with you, even if just to model good behavior. And if they don't do that, just do one arti together, do a little kirtan together, something as a whole family that unifies us. So there's different ways we can approach it. We don't need to bribe children with ice cream afterwards or something like that, because then they'll think, oh, only if we get ice cream, then I should chant. We shouldn't do that, actually. The chanting itself is the ice cream. It's the reward. If you give it that way, then you see that you don't need to connect it with some other thing. So there's many, many aspects to parenting when it comes to giving chanting and flavor. But the biggest one is our own taste. When they see the chanting makes you happy, Grandma, then I want that too. I want to feel that smile. When my grandma smiles, I want to smile like that. They won't say it in those words, but their heart will yearn for it. All right?
Yeah, thank you. Because sometimes children are more ahead in that respect of chanting than the parents are.
The parents, of course. 100%. 100%.
That kind of
and see, that's the thing, is that we're all individuals. Sometimes children are so much into it and parents couldn't care less. It's fine. Sometimes young children, because we all come with our own karma, with our own samskaras, with our own impressions. So that carries on, and that shows in children. And we should fan that spark. And as grandma, you can also do that and give what you can without rubbing the parents the wrong way. Of course, you have to balance the whole thing. You know how it is. I don't need to tell you all these things. You know how it works. Yeah. I mean, they're our children also. Our grandchildren, there's a saying in Gujarati that the interest earning from the bank is more sweet than the original principal amount. So our grandchildren are more sweet than our kids.
So true. That is so true. Yeah.
Buri karta vyaj halu. That's a Gujarati saying. So
yes.
It's
Okay.
it's the way it is. So we have to show that sweetness to them. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
All right. Well, we're a little bit over time, and I do need to rush to the conference. So my obeisances to all of you again. Thank you, Shilen Prabhu, Snehal Prabhu. And I look forward to seeing all of you next Saturday. Hare Krishna.